And so it begins. Match week number 3, the Ben v. Ben podcast. Ben, it is a rainy, glum, sad day in Cincinnati, Ohio. My mood has nothing to do with Chelsea getting dumped out of the Carabao Cup. I'm just attributing it to the weather. How are you doing this evening?
Well, I'm always a bit sad because your intros are so good, but I don't get introduced for a good 15 seconds. So I have to sit here blankly waiting for my introduction and time to speak. But you're right, it is great. There's thunder overhead. Who cares about the Carabao Cup? You should be happy to be out of it. I like the fact that Moo has to stay in it, and he's just angry that he has to waste more players and risk more injury on this thin squad already. So it makes me happy that you guys had to play and probably got more injuries from it as well. And you're going to be tired for this weekend. And Spurs are going to be tired as well for this big weekend. So it makes me happy all round.
It's the first time where I felt like maybe Frank's not the guy. But this is not a Frank Lampard podcast. We might get to him later, but there's bigger stories to talk about as we reflect on match week 3. And yes, Ben, it's going to take me a while to get to you in the introduction of the podcast. Although it's Ben v. Ben, I am clearly the number one Ben in this relationship.
Well, that remains to be seen, but we'll see.
Time shall tell, my friend. Okay. As we think about this week, I think there is one fixture that will always be thought of match week 3. It's going to be the City versus Leicester game. City go down by a scoreline of City 2, Leicester not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5. 5 goals. Pound City. Ben, what were your immediate thoughts upon reflecting on that match when the final whistle had blown?
I'll tell you why it was special for me, because my wife never watches football, but I've talked her into fantasy football. She's super into it this season. She had a terrible week up to this game. She has Vardy because that's the only player that she knows from our Euros a couple of years ago. So we were sitting together and we watched a super entertaining, high-scoring game. Like, there's nothing worse. I made her watch her first game ending 0-0. But entertainment all round. The quality of play was great. Leicester were phenomenal. City didn't look at it. We can talk about giving the penalties away and defensive frailties and all that, but I think the goals were at the highest standard as well. Even the penalties were great as well. They're 2 of the best goals of the season we may have just seen in that game. So all round, absolute top draw, great entertainment.
Ben, let me spoil alert. We're going to talk about City's defense. We're going to talk about the City's defense. Now, Ben, I want to ask you a question. When Pep Guardiola, I imagine he has a really, nice mansion or whatever a nice mansion is in Manchester, whatever that is. Nice mansion in Manchester. I'm sure that he has many leather-bound books. His bedroom probably has some rich mahogany bed frame. It's probably very nice.
Does he have Man City bed sheets?
Yes, of course.
Absolutely not.
No.
He's like Pier 1. His Barcelona bed sheets. Okay.
He has Barcelona bed sheets, but they're a very high thread count. That puts his head on the pillow, and he closes his little eyes. You think he sees Jamie Vardy just staring back at him, smoking a cigarette and blowing smoke in his face?
I wonder what he said. I think he just looks Fernandinho in the eyes, or he just looks at Kyle Walker, and I think he is one to less blame just the attacking prowess of a live 33-year-old striker versus just where he went wrong. I bet it's eating him up, but I bet it's more reflecting on what he did wrong versus, well, that's a great Leicester squad that really deserved to win.
So I sort of disagree because I feel like Pep, now go with me here. Have you seen the new Cobra Kai show on Netflix?
No, partly I know you recommended it. I just watched Kingdom, which was a UFC-focused Netflix show. Couldn't go straight to Cobra Kai, and somehow I've gone just to rewatch Justified for some reason. It's a good comfort food.
Listen, love Justified. But the reason I bring up Cobra Kai, are you familiar with the Karate Kid?
Wax on, wax off. Yeah.
Yes. So I view Pep Guardiola as Mr. Miyagi. He has a system that is a borderline religion, right? That he believes in so fully and so greatly. These small triangles, the beautiful version of the game. But for that, the opposite of that, I believe, is the Cobra Kai, Jamie Vardy, which is just speed kills. Intelligent speed, but speed kills. And you can't coach it. You can't coach it.
Is he like the friend on the PlayStation who keeps beating you, but all he's doing is just mashing buttons? And you're like, you don't know, you haven't played this for 100 hours like I have. You don't know it. All you do, it's when you play like Super Mario Smash Brothers or something like that, and your friend just keeps kicking your ass because he mashes buttons. And you're like, you don't understand the philosophy, the delicacies, the intricate combos. You're just mashing buttons.
This is 100% what Pep Guardiola looks at, and he cries himself to sleep when he sees Jamie Vardy haunt his dreams. That Cobra Kai, this pure physical aggression, this speed, just beats his little philosophy in cutting. What are those trees? What are those bonsai trees? Mm-hmm. Bonsai trees. Yeah, none of that. Vardy doesn't care about all of that. He likes fast cars, fast women, cigarettes. That's what Jamie Vardy wants.
Sees your bonsai tree, spills Skittles vodka all over it as he eats his Mars bar on the Venga Pie bus, for sure. Listen, I think I've seen everything analysed, from the penalties to it's a high pressing game to what a good jobs the midfield did for Leicester City and how they beat the press, to the high lines that we played were out of control, and the Darren Fletcher on Match of the Day talking about the double pivot not working and how they were using it to protect a back four, and how it's more to do with the defence midfield than it is the defender. At the end of the day, their defence is absolute garbage. I don't know what it was this weekend with Kyle Walker, like the cut across the striker to bring them down, like the clip of heels. Bruno Fernandes was doing it. Kyle Walker was doing it. Like, why you just let someone slip goal side of you? And you can talk about like it's not the right players, but why Pogba did it? Why you're letting a player get goal side of you, so you then have to cut across and clip their heels? It's just, there's no excuse for it. There's no change to the handball rule that people are losing their mind about. But at the end of the day, you're beaten by a attacker getting goal side of you.
Ben, we're gonna play a little game. It's called, what is your favorite Pep Guardiola expenditure on a defender? I'm just going to run down a list of defenders and how much they cost, how much you enjoy it. Okay, number one. Just recently purchased, we haven't seen him, Ruben Diaz, $62 million. Okay, number two, Joao Cancelo, $59 million. Where is he?
Never seen him never even heard of it. That's the first time I've heard his name.
Excuse me, pounds. So not even dollars, pounds. Okay. Laporte, 59 million pounds.
Always injured.
Yeah, he's fine. Benjamin Mendy, 50 million pounds.
Always injured. And clumsy. Gave the way.
And he sucks. John Stones, 50 million pounds.
Never played him. He was great. Should put him back in what's that Brummy gangster thing? With the hats and the haircuts that everyone loves.
Oh, Peaky Blinders.
Put him back in Peaky Blinders. That's where he belongs.
Kyle Walker, 48 million pounds.
Too old. He's good. You know, he is one of the good ones. But he wasn't a Pep purchase. He was back at the very, very beginning.
No. He was a Pep purchase. Listen. I did my research.
Right at the beginning, though. Right at the beginning of his.
Right at the beginning. Okay. But he was a Pep purchase.
Sure.
There is a Danilo for 27 million. Who is that? Don't know. Angelino, 11 million. Never heard of him. And Zinchenko, who's a midfielder, was pretty cheap. But Who is the world
Is
class
that left
defender?
back? Is that left back with a Z in his name, Zinchillo or Zippolippo? And he played a lot last season.
Yeah,
And
but he's a midfielder that they got pushed into defense. But who of those guys, right, is Man City basically has a blank checkbook, right? Like they can sign who they like. They're not going to lose out a defender for money. Who of that list is someone you would say like Premier League, like first team Premier League quality? None of them. Not one of them. So
I heard something really interesting that what you need in like a right back position is in that defensive position is a strong defender, and then whoever you put to organise kind of the defence around him, right? So Company was that before he retired. Maguire's that. Van Dijk is that. But whoever you put around, their job is to marshal the defence and control it, etc. And I heard, I think, on a podcast this week about how Pep doesn't like particular leaders on the pitch, how he wants what he says to go, and he doesn't want anyone listening to anyone else, just his word. And I think that really, really unravels when you need to marshal a defence, when you need a strong leader at the back to kind of when to push out, when to sit back, etc. Because I don't think they're doing it by themselves. It's shameful, and I hope he has got away with a lot because of the success he had early on. He should really be taking some heat for his defensive performances, how much he spent, and really how little he's achieved.
Well, what's funny is, when I think of how a player played or their playing career, I think that somewhat translates to their coaching career, right? Pep was a defensive midfielder. Get it sorted out. This isn't that hard when you have a blank checkbook. It really isn't that hard to sign someone of quality. I will say this, and I have two other points about this game. After watching this game, I just Liverpool's going to walk to the title. Just walk to the title. It's not even going to be close. I thought there might be a challenge this year. I thought Chelsea, Manchester United could push them. There is nobody that is going to push. You can quote me this and throw it right back in my face. There is nobody that will come within 6 points of Liverpool.
And I agreed with you, but I was really worried about just the depth that Liverpool have. But I think we'll get onto it. They seem to have bought wisely to get them cover in some key positions. So I think even with injuries, they'll be fine, whereas I was really worried about them before.
So then another non-important question I have about this game is I am a fan of the English culture. Some might call me an Anglophile. I love using English words. Like, for example, I love saying lads. It's just a great word. I wish I had more lads. Like, if someone was like, hey, Ben, I know we don't get along, but you want to come have some drinks with the lads?
You just want to be one of the lads, right? That's all you've ever wanted. You just want to be one of the lads.
But I want to be a lad. I don't want to be a friend. I want to be a lad.
I
just love it. Okay. So when I think of English lads and how they would be constructed, and maybe when I say lad, I think it's kind of like a little bit of like, I'm trying to think about what it is. Kind of like a cheeky English, kind of like, did you see the Kingsman, like Eggsy, like kind of that Eggsy vibe when he there's that type of person. To me, the spinting mental image of that is Phil Foden. Am I right or am I wrong?
Oh, he's a total lad. Absolutely. Him and Vardy out on the beers, bunch of lads on the town, having a great time. For sure.
I'd love to go to a stag party with those guys.
It would be. You wouldn't keep up. You would be an absolute mess. You'd go home early and they'd still be out till 5 a.m.
Listen, I would tap out at 11. But, from 8 to 11, I would have the greatest night of my life.
He's one of the lads, John Stones, as well. I'm around you, taking you on to the club. I know a great after-hours place. Oh, it'd be brilliant.
That's pretty funny that you don't think of City, but City has some lads.
Oh,
they have some
many lads. Yeah, they're in Manchester. Of course they've got lads.
What is it? On the lash? I want to get on the lash with the lads. Got it. I thought that with Phil Foden, but I didn't know if I had it right. Sometimes the translation doesn't work, but got it. Just a supplementary point. You talk about the goals. I had in my notes. I have this little journal. I write down my prolific thoughts into this journal so I can form points onto this podcast. So when that first Mahrez goal went in, that worldy Mahrez goal where he put it into the top left corner, I was sitting there thinking, poor Leicester. Poor Leicester. You win the title with this, great team, and then they come back and they just rip your heart out in the ditch. And
with your own gun. They shoot you in the face with your own gun.
And like a perfect shot too. It's not like they just like nicked you in an artery and you bled out. Like they put one right there into your bullet holes. And to see Mahrez celebrate like that, I was like, man, that would really suck. Like anytime a former Chelsea player scores against Chelsea, I'm always a little extra hurt. But seeing that Mahrez goal must have really hurt. But then it didn't hurt because they went on to score five goals and kick the shit.
Well, let me ask you this: what do you think the best goal of that game was?
I think it was the Mahrez goal.
No, absolutely not. That Maddison goal was one of the best goal of the season. I'll tell you why. Mahrez was like, the technique was good. He hit a spinning ball, but he hit it cleanly, but he hit it point blank. Like that could have gone anywhere, but he was pretty close. And I think luck more than anything took it to the top corner. He just put his foot through it and hit it so cleanly, it shot like a rocket. He got some pace behind it. Maddison, so far out, only one place he can put it, in the top corner. The technique, the skill, the power is the trifecta, which is more than Mahrez had, which was the technique.
Well, Ben, I'm going to have to let you on a little secret here. There are players that I like, and there are players that I don't.
Maddison's a lad. Absolute lad.
He's been Chilwell's best friend, so
for sure a lad.
No, yeah, for sure a lad. But there is, my poor young boy Mason. There is this inevitable like, is it Maddison or is it Mason Mount for that midfield position in England? And I'm firmly team Mount, right? Like, if we got like Twilight situation, Jacob or whatever those vampires name, I am team Mount here. So Maddison, I will always discount his efforts because it is at the expense of young Mr. Mason Mount.
Gosh.
So that's just a me problem, right?
But also Vardy's finish was so tidy. The little flick past the near keeper on the near post. That's a cute little finish. And that's hard to do as well.
Yes, it reminded me of a Drogba finish he had against Liverpool.
Yeah, it's an impressive skill.
It is an impressive skill. So to put a bow on this match, I saw some things where the press seemed so eager to defend Pep Guardiola. Like I heard people say that like, oh my God, I can't imagine Pep staying in this job next year. He just can't physically handle, non-success. That they almost attributed it to like that the team was failing Pep as opposed to Pep was failing the team. And it's just bananas. As someone who is clearly on, there was this Mourinho Pep, like, not even 5 or 6 years ago, maybe 7 or 8 years ago, who was the better manager, which way of football was ascended. And clearly I've taken the L on this, but like that, Guardiola is the transcendent manager of the generation, but he has failed here. He has failed at City. When you get bounced by Lyon in the Champions League, you have failed. You have failed at Bayern Munich. You have failed in the best circumstances, and the press just protect him. I don't understand. It's almost like football is reflecting politics a little bit, where that Pep represents a progressive ideal, and therefore it must be protected at all times. It must not be challenged, right? But like to call it like, it feels crazy. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. Someone needs to say that Pep Guardiola is doing a below average job for his team.
Yeah, and I think their goal is to win the Premiership, win the Champions League at all costs. That anything less is a failure, and this is probably his last year at the club. Would you say, just for the longevity he normally spends at clubs? I think if he is a bad Champions League, then this whole experiment will probably be a disaster, no matter how many league titles he won.
You can fact check me. I don't think he's even gotten to a semi-final of a Champions League at City.
I know, yeah. It's terrible.
It's terrible. Great manager, but like let's call it
Sack him.
spade.
Sack him.
Sack. I would love to see him in a national team, though. I would like to see if he could translate his
Back at
style of
Spain.
football. God, if I have to watch that Spain team pass. What was it? Was it the World Cup they won where they were like, we're just gonna play defense by holding the ball? It was.
Well, they did that again, and they got knocked out in the first round as well. Yeah. So it works sometimes.
Okay. I think we cut it the City Leicester game. Let's roll on to some other matches this weekend. I think the most interesting match, well, it's not the most interesting match per se, but the match of most significance was the Liverpool-Arsenal game. Liverpool handed Arsenal a 3-1 loss. And I got to say, I saw something in that match I have never seen before in football from open play. Never seen it before. You know, I am a Johnny-come-lately little yank across the pond that hasn't, grown up with the teat of football. But I have watched a fair amount in these decade plus since I've been a fan. I have never seen a right back cross the ball to a left back in the box for a goal from open play. I have never seen it before. Just haven't seen it. And that's what happened with Trent Alexander-Arnold crossing the ball to Andy Robertson at the back post for a goal. It's just insane how high up the field Andy Robertson was.
And I think that is part of it is. And I think that it's a new thing, right? These attacking wing backs as being almost offensive players and how quickly you need to transition from defence to attack and how they're almost secondary strikers as well. It is crazy. But you know what? When I played football at university, I was probably the worst in the team. And you know where they put me? Right back. Because you could do no damage. Like, where's the least damage player that I could cause on the field? It would be right back. It used to be the shit kids would be put in, like, the right and left back. Where you normally had, like, more kids are right-footed. So, like, normally it's the worst of the worst in the right back, which is where I played. And now the role has changed so much from just the fitness to being able to go back and forward, switch from defense-minded to attack-minded, go and support, run up there. The energy it takes, it is now probably the most important position on the field. And I could see them paying more money for that position than any other as well. That's why I'm amazed that Doherty went for so cheap. Chilwell goes for so cheap. You need these very creative wing backs, a ton of energy, put in a good cross, creative, but that can finish as well. And that's such a small skill set, but that's how so many teams are being asked to play.
I was with you until you said the most important. I think it isn't important given the system.
It's much more important than it was, and It's one of the most important. So you'll notice every manager, so Pep did it, Klopp did it, comes in and says, my right back's not good enough. Everyone's like, what are you talking about? He's a right back. He's fine. And they're like, no, I need my right back to do this job. And it's very different to how the English game has thought about that position. And there's only a few managers that play that very high attacking switch from right midfielder to an unmarked attacker. And that's why that position is becoming more and more in demand, and that skill set is so small.
Ben, I've heard a lot of shocking things on this podcast. We're only 3 weeks in, but there have been many surprises that have come out of your mouth. You telling me that you were the worst player at your university was not one of them.
Oh, at my university? No, listen. Yeah. There were some very talented kids there in that university.
Yes. So not shocking that you weren't, TAA.
And I got a lot better in my later life. After university, I really peaked. I was like Vardy. I was playing non-league and I became a pro much later in my career.
Okay, so you alluded to it earlier. Now let's set the scene for the millions upon the world listening to this podcast or consuming an individual medium. You and I converse in a WhatsApp thread with a few other people with fantasy football. So during this match, I'd like to chime in, get my takes in. We'll fire off a little take. And Diego Jota coming on the pitch and spurred a couple good chances. Like a couple immediately. And, I have been immediately biased towards Klopp crying about the transfer window and crying that he didn't get the signings. Meanwhile, he is making signings. So to me, it would have been funny if Diego Jota sucked. So when he comes in, misses 2 chances, I fire off my little take about Diego Jota really lighting the world on fire coming onto the pitch, and not, I don't know, conservatively, I'm gonna say 5.3 seconds after I sent that thing to the group, he scores a goal, and immediately I could feel the digital eggs just pelting me in the face, just over and over and over again.
The curse of the commentator, I think it's called. He came from that Wolves side, and he definitely wasn't the star. Now, I think a lot of people who watch Wolves day in, day out, says he's got a very important role. I was surprised when he went to Liverpool. I didn't think he was good enough. I think he's maybe a decent backup, but there's lots of talk about his potential. He's still young. I thought going on the pitch, he's just going to look out of his depth. And you're right, he spurned at least one good chance. Salah took a good chance off him, and he finished. I will say he must have a magnet in his boots, because it's not often the striker gets 3 clear-cut chances in the space of the 20 minutes left in the game.
To be fair to me, because I'm going to be fair to myself. If not me, who's going to be fair to me? I didn't know that Salah had taken that chance away from him. I thought he just whiffed on that ball off his chest, and so I'm gonna say that. So Liverpool steamrolls Arsenal. I thought Arsenal had some good chances. Klopp, again, Mr. Sensitive Crybaby, after the end of the match, getting into it with what's his face, old Mr.
Arteta?
No, old man in the sea.
Roy Keane. Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to talk about that?
What do we have to say about that? It just feels weird to be condescending to Roy Keane. I get it. Roy Keane wasn't as successful of a manager as Klopp, although Roy Keane did get a Sunderland side promoted. He's not a complete failure as a manager, but Roy Keane is kind of like royalty in football, certainly a much better footballer than Klopp was. So it's to be condescending about that guy's football knowledge, it's just kind of weird for Klopp. It's a weird move.
Yeah, I feel it was almost like a big misunderstanding. I honestly don't Klopp misheard, and Keane was very quick to correct. And I just think I get it. When he wants to keep that positive, and I think we called this out in the WhatsApp, he wants to keep that positive momentum going. Any kind of declaration that they're not improving, that there is a lack of positivity, or there's some things that you can undermine in that team, he wants to shut down as quickly as possible. It's like a protective dad. As soon as you say, well, your kid bit this kid, the dad's going to jump in. My kid's not a biter. What did you say? What do you mean he bites all the time? It was just a bunch of handbags over nothing as well. But I'll tell you what, Roy Keane's lost some fire. There's no way. I think he's the one that backed down in that conversation.
I do though too. I thought he had a little funny line after. It was he basically sensitive. After, I wish he'd have done that on camera. That would have been funnier.
It was. I think the line was, "What would he have done if he lost?"
I like Roy Keane. I wish there were old Grizzly. I wish Cantona was back. I love the Grizzly guys. Love them.
Have you seen talk of Roy Keane disappointment is when Jamie Carragher and Roy Keane are picking their top 11 players from a Liverpool team and a United team, and when he tells him Ryan Giggs isn't in that team,
where Carragher tells. No, so
Carragher tells Keane that he didn't pick Giggs.
Yeah, because Keane is advocating for him, and then Keane sort of, it's from the 99 team. It's matching the 99 team versus this team, and he's saying who gets in the side. And Carragher tells him that Giggs only scored 4 goals. He can't be in that team. And this wave of disappointment, disappointment washes across his face, and it's. I should give credit to Roy Keane. Kind of admitted he was wrong, but it was so painful.
Oh, I don't know if he admitted he was wrong. He was just like, "Why? I just can't listen. You're gone crazy." He's so good.
Sign me up for Roy Keane. Okay, Spurs Newcastle 1-1. This is gonna sound weird, but go with me onto this. I am not the reader that I once was, but I do like to read. But I always think that reading something like that, takes me out of it when they do exclamations, like when they try to make explanations and dialogue where they go "ar" or "ah," and they just like the H's keep going, and they put they have to make it really seem like an exclamation in text. Always takes it out for me. Don't worry, I'm going to bring this around. I'm going to make an exclamation that's going to sound equally as ridiculous. VAR! Just an exclamation of VAR was all over the place this weekend. It was just insane. But like Mourinho walking off the pitch was peak Mourinho. Loved it. Here's my take. I think that Eric Dyer ball was a handball. That you call that a handball. Now, other things I don't agree with. I get his back was turned, but his arm was above his head.
All right, this is what I understand why it was given, the laws of the game, but is that really an unnatural position for when you're so like I know I watched Match of the Day and they said it's about the silhouette of a player, but the silhouette of a player changes when you're jumping, right? Sure. I don't think he was an unnatural, but now and all that like you got to keep your hands. It's just. I tell you why managers don't like it. And I thought a lot about this, and all these Twitter, like the game's gone, the game's ruined. Jermaine Jenas saying that it's destroying the product. I'm not sure if any of that's true. I think it actually adds to the product. I think last minute drama, the Man United Brighton game, this Newcastle, just a last minute drama. That's a great product. That adds excitement to the game. That makes it super interesting. I think what managers don't like is it adds an element of randomness to a game that's hard to control anyway. So when their jobs and their performance and success is tied to all of this, and you're adding just this wild card element of randomness to the game of, it just has to hit my hand and my defender's not doing anything particularly wrong. You can't really legislate against that. That's when the managers get really irate about it. I don't think it's fair because it adds that element of randomness to it, but I don't think it's necessarily ruining the game or making it worse. It's just adding an element of unfair. It helps with drama. It makes it more appealing. It's more to talk about the next day around the water cooler. What it doesn't do is it doesn't lessen the product, I don't think.
And this is why you're voting for Donald Trump. All you want is the drama.
I just want the result. That's it, yeah. And super racist.
Listen, to be fair, I can agree with you. I just think that it's too harsh of a punishment. Like that, I don't think that the foul itself is worth a free kick, like a penalty kick on goal. Give him a yellow card, maybe. I don't know. I don't want.
I mean, it's like you're either breaking the law or you're not. I don't think you can say, "Well, you're only breaking it a little bit." And it's like,
no. I mean, there's yellow card tackles and there's red card tackles, right? There could be.
But there's not like a yellow card handball and a red card handball. Maybe
that's what I'm doing.
There's enough complexity around the handball to make it even more complicated. Listen, I just read that they're going to kind of be a bit more lenient about the handball, but I think it changes with unnatural positions, silhouette of the body. I think you have to jump like that as a defender. Your arms kind of come up to give you that more air, and that's just how people jump. You don't jump up like a little bowling pin and the ball hits the hand. I do think that all these every rule that someone creates, people find ways around it, and that's what ruins things. And I do worry that people are going to start aiming for hands, looking for penalties soon. Right? It'll soon just be shoot on sight. You know what? We might get lucky and hit a hand, and that's where it'll just become boring.
Optimize to the flaw. Okay, enough about handball. We can talk about that. The VAR. It's frankly quite boring to talk about handball and talk about it. But let's move on. Then we're going to do a little exercise. We're going to talk about the Brighton Man U game. I'm going to walk through what happened post the 90th minute. I don't care what happened pre-90th minute.
So we're going to talk about it for 10 minutes.
The last, however long it's in. 92nd minute. Brighton gets a point-blank shot on the goal, turns around. Then what are you feeling in that moment when the point-blank shot makes sense?
I'm going to be different about all this and go back to I'm going to pull Lampard down with me. I don't think Lampard and Solskjaer should be managing the club. I think they're their achievements and their performance, like results aside, but just the way they play, there's a trend right now to bring in young club legends to manage a club, which I think is a trend and not one that's going to stay around. I think they've seen a little bit of success with Zidane. I think there's seasoned managers definitely play their part. So honestly, we played so badly during that Brighton game. I was annoyed that we won. I was annoyed. I wanted Brighton to score because we did not deserve to win that game. So when Brighton took that, to answer your question, when Brighton took that shot and nearly went in, I was like, I wish they would. I wish it would go in.
See, now we're getting on track, Vince. We have a bit. Let's commit to the bit. You went away from the bit. Let's commit.
I know there's a bit coming. Okay.
Yeah, there's a bit. There's a bit coming. So the 92nd minute. Apparently, I thought you'd be relieved. Not relieved. You were actually existentially hoping that you would die and that that ball would go in. The 95th minute equalizer, sweet release apparently. That Brighton sticks the dagger in 5 minutes of extra time. They score in the 95th. They score in the 95th minute. Yet somehow we have extra time, and then the 96th minute we have a PK. Which was I don't know. I mean, I guess it was a PK. We just talked about it. It's kind of like the same exact thing. It was an insane bananas town 6 minute. But Fergie time's back. I mean, Fergie, I've never seen a club so associated with winning in extra time than Manchester United in my short time. But Fergie time is back, and apparently you don't want it.
It was a few firsts. So the first was, I don't think a game has gone 10 minutes long of extra time. So it was 10 minutes of extra time, which hasn't happened before, or certainly a goal scored at 90 and 10 minutes. That's the latest goal ever scored. And then the other thing I'd never ever seen, which has never happened in the Premiership before, is the final whistle going and then a goal being given to the other team. I remember watching one of the first games of football I ever watched. The referee, the guy took the corner, and he took it, and it started to go, and he blew the whistle for the final whistle as soon as he kicked the corner. And I think someone scored off the kick corner as well. And it was just like, oh, that's it. Sorry, I blew my whistle. There was no more time for the corner. I let him kick it, and that was it. And everyone lost their mind that the goal didn't count. The whistle went in after the whistle, and it was craziness. And this seems just even more craziness. The fact that VAR, the whistle can go, and yet you can still add on more play after the final whistle. It's more bizarreness to the world of VAR.
So, to me, you shouldn't get extra time after scoring a goal in extra time, right? To me, part of that should be baked in. That's what you get extra time for. I don't get why they budget extra time for scoring goals in extra time. Well, I get that you could exploit it. That a team could take forever to get to the halfway line. But to me, that's the point of extra time is to make up for time wasting in normal time.
No, the beauty of the game, a game could go on forever. You could waste time forever, and it's like life. It'll always catch up with you. It'll always find you. If you want to waste time for 90 minutes, don't worry. It's gonna take as long as it takes. That's the beauty of extra time. That it takes as long as it takes. Now, Fergie was a master of it. He could control extra time. But I love the fact that if you want to waste time on extra time, guess what? It's like a detention. You want to talk back? Detention. More talk back? 2-day detention. That's extra time. It's like Ferris Bueller. Right.
Crazy game in the West Brom Man U game. The next match we're going to talk about. The worst draw.
West Brom Chelsea game, not Man U.
Yeah, I know. I'm saying we've moved on from the Man U game. We're talking to the worst draw. West Brom 3, Chelsea 3. The end of the Marcus Alonso era. Did you hear about the Marcus Alonso
Can this be the end of Frank Lampard? No, tell me about Alonso.
So Marcus Alonso, pretty much at fault for the first and the third goal. I mean, he's a specialist player. He's a wing back. He is not a defender. I somewhat feel bad for him. But he sucks as a left back. He just sucks, right? Terrible.
Well, he's also getting old as well, so he can't be the effective wing back he was, let alone...
Younger than you would think, but still old, 29. Not in his 30s.
Okay, all right. He
Yeah.
looks
So
50, but okay.
yeah, exactly. I know it's surprising. He gets taken off at halftime. Him and Kovacic get taken off at halftime. Alonso takes a shower, and instead of coming back to the pitch, goes to the bus. And apparently, Frank Lampard was incandescent with rage. Alonso out of the team for this Carabao Cup as we're recording this game or this podcast. I think he's going to be sold after it. So the end of the Marcus Alonso era of Chelsea after giving away the first and the third goal to West Brom. I mean, it was just it was three individual mistakes, and Thiago Silva pulled a Stevie G slip for the second goal. I actually think Thiago Silva was not bad in that match. I mean, it's hard. It's one of those things where I'm trying to think of the longer term, right? Like, you got mad at me for saying Thiago last week gave away the penalty, but I also thought he was the man of the match.
Yeah.
I think maybe I'm just biased towards Thiago's. I thought Thiago played really well in the Chelsea backline, minus that horrific slip.
Let me tell you the difference between Stevie G and Thiago. Stevie G was a genuine slip, he fell over the ball. Thiago, I think on Sunday, it was a bit sloppy. It was a laziness on the way he controlled it, which I think is a big difference.
No, I think that's fair. Listen, I'm grasping at straws here. Like, this is the first, the reason why I didn't want to hire Frank Lampard, and I know that we don't have podcast records where you could put it up, but I was very strongly on the record saying, I don't want to hire Frank Lampard because I don't want to fire Frank Lampard.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I have no interest in doing this, right? But we're starting to get into territory. I'm not going to be overreactionary and say, okay, you drew with the worst team in the league. You lost to Spurs on penalties. You need to be fired. But what I am saying is I need to see a response. I need to receive a response this weekend and after the international break of you haven't figured out that we're working towards something because you've gotten the investment. Now, I still think the central midfield of Jorginho and Kovacic and Conte isn't going to do it.
Yeah.
And I put Conte in that because I think in modern football, Conte is a very specific player that needs a central defensive midfielder that allows him to roam and and it cannot really be an attacking force. So you're sort of hamstrung when you play Conte. He's not going to play in the Lampard system. So Conte, Kovacic, and Jorginho aren't going to do it. But besides that, he has the team around him that can.
What about your two centre backs, Christensen and the other one?
So Tomori and Zuma. I think that
Zuma.
I think Zuma would be a great third choice center back at a good team. I do not think he's a starting caliber center back for a great team. Don't think so. But I like him, right? I think that you could possibly get by with Thiago and Zuma, probably. I mean, it's not John Terry.
Where does Christian fit?
Christensen?
Yeah.
Whatever.
John?
I mean, he's a pansy. He's not up for the fight. Like, he is a Spanish or German center back that's like ball playing. Pep would love Christensen. Love him. Like, let's sell him to Man City for 20 million. Be done with him. Like, at a certain point, defenders need to defend and need to nut up and to defend. Christensen's much more about breaking the press, which I guess you need to do now. But ultimately, you're going to have to defend. I think he's fourth choice. I think he's after Tomori. But anyways, I need to receive response. That's it. Like, and Lampard is, he's a Chelsea legend. I think he's more of a Chelsea legend than Ole is. I know Ole has the Champions League moment.
Yeah,
Frank Lampard,
I'd say that.
Frank Lampard arguably could have a statue built out at Stamford Bridge, and no one would batter. Like, no one would think twice of it, right? So, but you have to be like Pep. Like what I was saying with Pep, let's be real here and judge on a scale. Like, let's judge on what you actually have done. And I don't think that. I think if Frank Lampard pisses away this beginning of the season, there's a lot of great managers out there. Mauricio Pochettino is out there. Allegri's out there. Let me say this: like, I've seen some great managers at Chelsea. I think Antonio Conte is actually maybe the best manager, but maybe a terrible. I don't want him in charge of squad management. But if I had to say one manager to pick a team, and pick for a campaign, I'd probably pick Conte. he is far, far behind in instilling confidence that Conte and Mourinho would have been. Right, far, far behind.
I think we agree that our young, untried club heroes probably aren't the right managers. I think it is only the third game week.
Wait, 1 second. Is Ole young? How old is Ole? Come on.
No, young as inexperienced. Like
Ole seems like 50s.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay.
I mean, young as in inexperienced or new to manager life as well. And I know like Frank had Derby, Ole had Mulder, but it's a whole different level. And he had Swansea at one point. It's just I don't think, and they both did lukewarm at those jobs, and to then go on and manage a much higher level, it's based on reputation as a player. Does not mean you're going to have that skill as a coach.
For all that Chelsea has signed this summer, right? I think that Chelsea has to do whatever, do Marinis Graniskaya, whatever voodoo witch magic you've pulled, Roman, whatever Russian oil deal that you have to strong arm to get it through. I think we need Declan Rice. Like I think that you need a central defensive midfielder to guard that back line.
You have the best defensive central midfielder in the world, and there you are looking over every day.
No, because he doesn't shield the back line. He attacks.
That's his job. No, he got pushed forward with Conte, and you broke him. He was doing so good when you just let him scuttle back and forth behind that.
But he operates in a 2. He's not going to sit as a 1, right? Like he is not going to sit.
He did for Leicester. He sat.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't. He was in a 2 with what's his face? Drunk driver. We signed him for $30 million. Danny Drinkwater, right? Okay, Danny Drinkwater. Okay. That like they're a pair. He's always been in a pair, right? And that's what he exceeds at in the World Cup with Pogba. Exceeds in a pair. Right? We don't have now. Maybe you could say that Lampard needs someone to sit next to him, but Kovacic can't do it. Jorginho can't do it. So if we're going to change our side for Conte, but if we're that's fine. But if we're going to have one player sit, we need a better player, right? And Conte's not that person. He's not it.
Well, if Declan Rice is the answer, what is the question?
Listen, you laugh about that. West Ham whipped Wolves.
Well,
took them to the woodshed, and they've been good under Moyes.
One good game, everyone says they're the best revenue Champions League team.
I have something to say about that game in a roundabout sort of way. But I'm gonna try something. If it doesn't work, I'm gonna have to think. Can you still see me?
No.
You cannot see me. Okay. That's not good. I was going to read, so I'm going to go dark for a second. I'm going to read to you the tweets of Tony Khan, the son of the owner for Fulham.
Okay.
I apologize to Fulham FC supporters for our performance tonight. We've looked to add center backs since Wembley. I'm sorry we haven't yet, as 2 got COVID, plus we lost a free we thought was close. Plus had another issue with a 4 center back. I promise players in, plus better efforts from the squad. Someone responds to him, asking him credit to Box Smart 83 tweets at him, credit to you coming straight on here, Tony, but we need defenders in pronto. Malang Sarr will sit at the bench at CFC. Get him in on loan. Rugani will do a job too. Also, I don't see where the goals are coming from. Mitro is a great target man, but lacks pace on the counter. Tony Khan responds to Boxer 83. We can't loan in Sarr. You can't go out on a loan to another Premier League team in the same window in which you signed. Is there? There was another one. Oh, yeah. Tom Smith tweets at him. So the bloke we're announcing is the 5th choice, Tony Khan. Or we can wait for people to hopefully fully recover from COVID, Tom. Ben, I'm going to come back to the visual here. If your owner is on Twitter responding from fans, I will put out the money. They are getting relegated right now. That is a horribly run franchise. Can you imagine if he's responding to fans after a 3-0 defeat? What he must be doing just during letting Twitter dictate how he's going to react? It's bananas.
Well, they are saying they're missing fans in the stadium and they don't have the booing and there's a lot less pressure on the manager and the players for a bad performance. So maybe this is just a new crowd. Like you're forced to have to reply to at least 20 angry Twitter fans as part of your penance for not having people in the ground. And my other question about Sarr, which is this Sarr from Watford?
No. This is a
Another Sarr, different Sarr.
A Nice central defender, a French under 21 that Chelsea likes to sign these players and then ship them out to Germany and then
I see. That's why it's the same league because he's actually at Chelsea. All right, that makes sense.
Yes.
It's bizarre.
It's just a bad look. It's a terrible look. Don't be on Twitter. Just don't do it. Just that's the number one thing. I do it because I have a sickness and a thing. But if I was running a football club, my number one rule: don't be on Twitter. Just don't do it. So Fulham are going down. I will say that right now, which is sad. I wish West London, Southwest London derby. I would like Fulham to be good. Right?
Is it sad?
No.
Boring club, boring fans, not great football. I don't know if it's that sad.
Whenever you think of an accountant who they would support, it would be Fulham, right? A little gentleman's clap, and it's Fulham.
It's a very middle class club, and enough said.
I wanted to bring out of the Fulham. So, not. I don't want to talk about the Fulham game. I wanted to read those tweets. But I did want to talk about the West Ham game quickly. I'm going to pose you a question. Who would you rather have on the England team right now? Dominic Calvert-Lewin or Miguel Antonio?
I'll tell you, I think Calvert-Lewin, because what you lack, only because, not that they're a better player, what you lack from England right now is a finisher. Right, I think we've got enough creative. I think we've got enough of talent on the wings. I think Antonio excels in that forward, right or left position attacking. I think we've got a lot of depth in there. You've got no final finisher to put the ball in the back of the net, and I think that's why Vardy's miss is everyone's talking about Vardy coming out of retirement, because you don't have that pure finisher. And I think that's what we need, especially if Harry can drop back as well a little bit. You need someone to put the ball in the back of the net from Thicc and Sancho and Sterling and Rashford. I think right now, I'm not saying who's a better player, but who does the England squad need most? It's Calvert-Lewin.
Calvert-Lewin as a finisher is a joke. It's a joke.
How's he a joke?
He scores the ball from 3 inches away.
That's fine. We talked about this last week about how it's not just about he's not a great finisher. He's great at movement. He's great at anticipation. He's put the ball in the back of the net so many times. That's all you need. And that's a undersung skill.
That question was just for me to get across the point that Miguel Antonio is great and is underrated and is doing a yeoman's job at West Ham.
He's a poor man's Rashford. That's all he is. He's a fat Rashford.
Oh, he's not fat. That dude's thick.
He's a thick Rashford.
Him and Declan Rice are first team all thick boys in the Premier League.
And
thick
Hazard.
Boys.
They're taking over the
Oh man, let me tell you what, I miss Hazard's ass. Just miss it. Just that succulent buttocks.
No.
When he would drop his hips. Oh my god, it gives me sensations.
All right, calm down there. Your rooster's crying.
All right. Speaking of sensations, Ben, who is your winner of the week?
Vardy party by far. At 33, hat-trick. Oh, you know what? Another thing, we didn't talk about this. Vardy party and a pulled groin. It was awkward watching it with the misses and how much he touched around that area as well. I did not appreciate. And why Brendan Rodgers didn't put him off at the first sign of a groin strain. Let him stay on and limp around. But Vardy, just for some of those finishes and a whole hat-trick against a very, very expensive Pep team. Who's your winner?
I think I got to go with Jurgen Klopp. As much as I think he's a crybaby and stuff like that, the narrative, I think the meta narrative is that Klopp and Pep are competing for the best manager of this generation. I think Pep is sliding down. Klopp
Mm-hmm.
is trending up and beat a fairly informed Arsenal side. Manchester City is not going to mount a challenge. I think Liverpool's going to walk to the title. I think Jurgen Klopp, even though I think he's a bit of a crybaby, I think he won the meta narrative of this week. Ben, who is your loser of the week?
Can I give it to Alonso after you told the bus story of checking out early? Like, what he used to be one, again, before left backs were meant to be the marauding, attacking, he kind of was the first marauding, attacking, scoring left back. And to where he's fallen today, it's just sad to see. So he had a rough game. And falling out with the manager is never a good idea. So he's my loser.
Left wing back. He is a great left wing back. He is not a great left back.
He
Ben,
was.
That's an inspired choice, but I'm going to dine on the Pep Guardiola tears and say Pep Guardiola is the loser of the week. You cannot spend that amount of money on a back line and have a blank checkbook and be embarrassed like that time and time again. His back line, when they ship goals, they are embarrassed. Right? It is horrific to watch. You just can't be the best manager in the world, and that happens to you. Now, I will say that it's somewhat interesting. In a week of fallen Isles, I don't know if you saw it. Bayern Munich got pasted this week.
Yeah, I did see that. Yeah. A lot of their fringe players playing, and I will say that we'll see how City respond. And I think he just got his tactics wrong. And I think it was very rude of Pep to say that they didn't come to play football. Leicester, they played and they beat that press, and they played some incredible football. So yeah, I think Pep was a terrible loser in that instance.
He's an ideologue and not a pragmatist. I always like pragmatists, right? Like football is the one sport where you do not have to be the better side to win. If you acknowledge your weaknesses and if you set up in a way that acknowledges your weaknesses, you can beat the superior side. And I love that about football. What I hate about football is when crybaby ideologues don't recognize that and say, "Oh, they didn't come to play football." No, they recognize, like, they exploited your weakness. They exploited your weakness, basically, right? It's like in war, right? Like, I'm not attributing to war. It's like you don't get to choose. Not just because the team doesn't want to choose the same battlefield as you doesn't mean that they're anti whatever you're trying to do. Sure. They're just setting the stage how they want to compete, right? So
I know this comes from a park the bus mentality that you've grown up on. So,
oh my God, counterattacking football is just the best. There is a Diego Costa goal.
No. Listen, we're an hour in. Let's power through the rest of this. I want you reminiscing about old Chelsea days.
I will send you a link of some Chelsea counterattacks under the Conte against Man City.
I think I'll be okay.
My God, it is orgasmic in my mind. Well, we only have two more. We only have to look forward to next week. Again, I think next week's a bit of a poo-poo platter. Not a lot of games that I'm super interested in seeing. Two games that I want to call out. Saturday, 12:30, Leicester versus Man City. Now, not Leicester, Man City. Excuse me, Leeds, Man City. Now, the Pep needs to get right against the back line. Not the team to be doing it, Ben. And also, I got to say, I don't understand anything about English politics. I don't understand. I already just told you. I have trouble understanding who's allowed, who's not allowed. I did find it funny that they said I was reading some of the our soccer after the Leicester game when they won 1-0. They said Bamford, the best Tory ever in the Premier League. Would you say he's a Tory? He looks like a Tory?
Well, okay, so a Tory would be like Donald Trump Jr. So does he look like a Donald Trump Jr., like a rich public school boy? Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, he's middle. It's funny. They're so obsessed with class in England, and football traditionally is a working class man. Bamford is probably middle class, so obviously he's like a top, completely blown out of the class system.
Yes, yeah. So I found that funny. Explain it to Ben, the English class system. Okay, learning politics all the time. Trump supporter Ben tells me about other Trump supporter Patrick Bamford. Okay. And this Sunday, your lot take on Spurs, 11:30.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
We're going to kill
it'll
them.
be interesting.
Yeah. If we're at home, I think we'll play against a team that will attack. I think it'll be easier for. It's like United's favourite type of game.
No, Son's out of the game. Son's
Yeah,
got
that
did his hamstring.
No, do you think Addy comes back in for this game?
No, he wasn't even in the Carling Cup squad today. Wasn't even in the squad.
He's in the shit. He's in the bad books, but does he come out because they just need him?
No. I mean, Mourinho's literally telling him in the documentary he's lazy. Dele Alli's like,
yeah,
whatever.
I think he's doing it to prove a point, but when the point is proved, does he bring? I think he starts.
Can you start him with that new hairstyle? I mean, it is truly a trip. Oh, he's got this dye job and a mustache. It's not a good look.
That probably isn't.
No, it's not a good look.
I bet you. Let's talk next week. But I bet you he starts.
I will bet you a 6-pack of craft beer of your choice that he does not start.
How about he plays?
I will bet you a 6-pack of craft beer that he doesn't play.
All right. I bet he comes on at some point.
How about this? We have the bet. If he plays, I will hand deliver you a 6-pack of craft beer. If he doesn't make the squad, right, then
he's not. He either plays a little bit or doesn't make the squad. But we'll see.
No. I'm just saying. But that's
okay. No, let get finished.
Squad, you have to buy me a bottle of bourbon.
No, it's not double or nothing. It's not 5 gets 10. You're not Jack.
Just for the listeners, Ben's the cheap one here. He doesn't have the balls. He doesn't.
That is true. I can't. Bourbon's price. We're in a pandemic. We need all the bourbon we can get.
It is true. And Ben only buys rum. Okay. All right. We've talked for over an hour. The listeners' ears have been filled with just great football knowledge and a high quality banter. But that's it. That's all we got this week.
All right.
So it ends. Till next time. I'll see you later, Ben.
See you next week. Bye.
Bye.